Should have probably tested stuff, but it looks like it's all working here. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, go away. Anyway, Merry Christmas, everybody. I don't know how many people I'm going to get here on Christmas Eve, but I'm hoping that there might be some people that are, up with waiting for having a tough time getting to sleep. Or maybe you got to sleep early to make the fun of tomorrow morning come in. But anyway, I kind of lost track of time and then realized it went from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and I realized, like, oh, I had to stream. Because, well, more like, oh, I had to get my photos done. And today, continuing on my 2005 Odyssey, I'm going to be dealing with a trip to Winslow Junction I took in the summer of 2005. Did a lot of stuff in 2005, mainly because it was before like I said, I had a job lined up, but it wasn't going to start for a little while, so I was sort of free to do whatever for a little bit. And Winslow Junction is one of those go-to rail locations that my dad used to take me down there as a kid. We used to do a bunch of rail stuff as a kid, but it wasn't sort of the traditional sense. Part of it was my dad was into trains, but not from like a technical. I mean, he knew what all the PR locomotives were, and he knew the stories behind this, that, and the other thing, but he wasn't like all the details, all the dates kind of person. So we would take, Patco into the city with the window, and in summer evenings we would hear what at the time was the Beasley's Point Secondary, or the old Reading Freight Line. We'd hear the trains going. They'd be whistling for the various crossings in and around the 4 to 6 o'clock time frame, and we would actually jump in the car and go try to chase them down. And the third major thing we would do is go down to Winslow Junction. This is a place my dad knew about, and he always took me as a kid. And by the time I started going there, when I was like 4 or 5, it had actually just been abandoned as an active sort of interlocking station, and it had teetered from the age when the PRSL died. It had sort of teetered along with the limited NJ dot operation until 2003, and at that point they just threw in the towel. Signals were turned, interlocking was shut down, and there wasn't much there. Conrail was still running everything out of Pavonia. Everything else was group and weeds. I remember I saw a rattlesnake there once. I mean, this place was done. But there was still freight traffic, but there was just it was just it went in line with the fact that above Winslow Junction as well, the old, what is now the Atlantic City line, was basically just, it wasn't it was abandoned, but it was abandoned in the legal sense, but it was just, tracks were there, but there's grass growing in them. That was the other thing my dad would take me to. We'd call it the abandoned railroad. It's like, hey, do you want to go to the abandoned railroad today to just go walk around? And Winslow Junction was an extension of that. I mean, it was just, if you ask me what railroads did back when I was a kid, I'd just say, well, they're abandoned. Because that's all anything was after the massive sort of quote-unquote crash of the collapse of railroading in South Jersey after the Conrail era and the loss of the original Atlantic City line. So anyway, fast forward 15 years, and you had the Southern Railroad in New Jersey that was there. And this is a line it's still there. It's still in operation. The guy who ran it, though, passed away while being under indictment. And there was a lot of shady stuff. It was odd. It was an odd duck. South Jersey had two major short line personalities, Tony McCree down at Cape May Seashore, and the mystery guy, I don't know his name, who ran Southern Railroad in New Jersey. Both of them were rail fans. Both of them hated each other, and they formed two sort of short line cliques. So it was a lot of weird stuff. But anyway, the guy who ran Southern Railroad New Jersey, Southern Railroad New Jersey literally appeared out of nowhere. I mean, we weren't plugged into the scene, and I just remember like we'd go to Winslow Junction and it'd be abandoned and abandoned and abandoned, and suddenly like stuff appeared, and a lot more stuff appeared, and it was weird stuff and F units and Jeeps and all sorts of weird stuff. And apparently this guy, he was making his way, trying to make it as a railroad guy, and he had a bunch of things he loved. He loved the New York, Ontario, and Western. He liked Alcos. And given the sort of locomotives he hoarded, that was clear. And when you went down in 2017, he'd probably pretty much bought every MLW M-420 he could get his hands on. And these were, after Alcos shut down, its Century series briefly went on to its Canadian subsidiary for a few more years into the 70s, changing what used to be the Century C420 became M420. Same Alco engine. They didn't make too many of them. You can go look them up on Wikipedia somewhere. I can tell you how many they made. But sorry, this is a little. I haven't started getting into what I'm doing yet. There it is. They made 98 or 90 of them, it looks like, in 73 to 77. And these were attempting to compete with the GP series, but it just wasn't big enough market. No amount of Canadian subsidies could save it. So anyway. These are all clearly XCN units. And, there are a bunch that are still there today. And I don't know how many. I mean, it's almost like he bought more than he could chew. He bought them, and a lot of them sat there. And I don't know how many he ever got in working order. It was some. I don't know if they were there for parts. I don't know if he just had other plans. But he liked Alcos. He liked all sorts of stuff. There were, and I'll get into the story. I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's a story that it was. It's so many of these things where there was a rise and a fall. I wasn't plugged into it. I'm not trying to get here the corporate I'm not trying to go all company man on this and describe what happened. But even in 2005, and I first met up with SJ. I mean, I saw the stuff, and the people were nice. I was even I ran into the F units on the Salem branch. Those guys were great. I chased the train. They offered me a cab ride. I didn't think I took it for some reason. I didn't have enough time. See, this is a hard one. What do you do if you don't have a thing here? But so the guy liked New York, Ontario, Western. He got some GE 44 tons. They were doing so much stuff, sort of like they had old Texas Mexican Railway coaches, and they wanted to do a tourist operation. So they had there was a guy that would come out there, and they were slowly fixing the frames. It was really that guy that spends 20 years repainting his house. He just doesn't he just never seems to finish it. And that's exactly the way it was at SRNJ. I mean, they had all these little projects, and they just never. They started off really. I think they did finish this GE 44 ton. I think this one was fixed, but I'm not sure. Because when the guy died suddenly, and new owners sort of took over, a lot of them, they were just nuts to this. Nope. No. Call the scrap dealers in. We are not. What's going on with my thing here? We are not putting up with this. I don't even know who the new owners are. Some, it fits under the fits under the thing of local businessmen. Just try to figure out what the, there it is. Boom. Yep, you can see how poor the old web versions I made with these were. I also used to mix it up with I used to call it SJRR. So the Southern Railroad of New Jersey, not instead of the South Jersey Railroad. That's something I gotta correct going forward here. But at the time it was pretty exciting. Nope. There it is. There we go. It was a little warmer day than that. So I think that at one point, one GE 44-ton was operational. They had a second. I think one got scrapped, and then the other one got sold. So here, like this just shows you what's going on today. So we have this box car. This flat car was their transloading solution. So this box car was there, and they had a customer, and he'd show up with a whatever, and they'd unload it right there on the spot. You know, this is why, you know, short lines are generally seen as innovative, because a regular railroad, you know, you have some union or whatever, and you know they demand to put an actual concrete pad, but no, a short line, it's just you find whatever's around and you go for it. See, today, they actually built an engine house down there. There was definitely a sort of a peak. This is when everything was just sort of out and about. Then the engine house, I mean, they were still going pretty strong. And then suddenly, it was like I said, once the guy died, after being indicted, they kind of put the brakes on the vision. But it's nice that the railroad just didn't get folded or whatever. I guess they had pretty good brand goodwill. But see, all of these are M420s. The trucks are neat. I'm not sure what happened to that design. That was an Alco. That was an Alco design. Back when they did the scrap fest, I don't know how many M420s got scrapped. I know that this like 3517. When I just did a Google on it, I noticed that actually I think it appears on the Wikipedia page or something like it. See, same color scheme. Not sure if that went there first and then went over to the SRNJ. But they did I think I said they did a pretty good job. Let me just see if I can try to frame this guy a little bit better. There it goes. So the interesting thing about these, of course, is the wide cab, which was a Canadian thing, and appeared only on their production, I'm pretty sure. Also note the class lights that Canada used, sort of like in the place of the extra flags seen in the United States. Despite all the Alcos, most of the work was performed by the Jeeps, and that you can see it back there, the actual C420 number 44414. I'm not sure if they couldn't maintain them or didn't have parts. But the Jeeps were really what were doing most of the pulling, at least for local. I think they used the Alcos to get the long stone trains down to Atlantic City. Their major customer was an asphalt plant, or still is, that needs a lot of stone. I think they also would take jetty rock and occasional other stuff down there. Fun fact about this guy, I was getting a tour by one weekend there by some employees, and they showed me that they... a lot of these short lines you got to deal with because they don't run the engines enough. They got to deal with the blocks freezing in winter, and most of the time, see all these cords, they have to plug them in. This is summer, so I don't need it then. But that one, like number 102, they'd actually put an oil heat. An oil-fired water heater. They salvaged from someplace. And that would during the winter would heat the block. So that's our first cut. Not many people today. It looks like everybody's left. Just entice people to try to ask some questions. Winslow Junction is still there. It's still pretty interesting. Everything that didn't disappear, but the stuff is still there. So here we have an M420 in an Iowa interstate livery. They're still there. I think it's IA. Let's check so I can letter that properly. They run on the old Rock Island, starting around Joliet and heading out into Iowa. Yeah, they're there. What's their reporting mark? It's IAIS. There we go. To the extent that a locomotive has kept its same number, I try to give it the reporting marks even if it's been sold. Makes it a bit easier for people to track it from their more well-known parent, especially if it's in the paint scheme. Like I said, what other guy, you got to have a railfan owner if he's going to source a specific kind of locomotive from multiple locations. Here we have Winslow Tower, PR style tower operated by the PRSLs, seen from rear. Owned by New Jersey Transit, used as a radio base, so it's kept sealed up, heated. But I got into this in the 90s when they left the window open for a while, and it's a pretty neat thing inside, but unfortunately it was a sort of pre-digital camera era. And I didn't catch, I wasn't able to get a lot from it. Let's see which picture this is. I get out there pretty regular. There it is, right there, that one. All right, let's just get the same name. Yeah, Winslow's definitely. I mean, if you come in summer, a lot of the place just seems to vanish because it's so overgrown with trees. But you go in winter, and everything's gone. We have the rear air plant. Let me see if I see. Look at this. Look at this. Gone there. Gone there. I mean, it looks like NJT at some point did some brush clearing, but here it is pre-brush cleared. There's the tower, and it's gone. Boy, I was just taking the same picture in the same locations years apart, and it's gone. What years are these? This is. There's 2005, 2010, and this is 2016. So that one thing that they keep cutting down, it's like 3 generations of shit trees that keep popping up. There's the picture. Is that the picture? I think that's the right one. Or maybe I took it a different year. Let's see. That's it. So this is part of the old air plant with a dryer and other stuff to go into the compressor house inside. Winslow was a massive interlocking, not in terms of the machine was small, the physical plant was small, but the size was just huge. It's not really showing up there well. But you can see there's the outline. Oops. There it is. Because it was the combination of it was the PRSLs. It knitted together the nexus of the line, the PRR line from Camden to Atlantic City, the Reading line from Camden to Cape May and Ocean City, and it just I did an article on the plant. I mean the physical plant. And there's just miles of airlines running from the tower through the woods to get to these remote locations. And it's and because it was pretty much just abandoned in the 1980s, they just walked away, turned the signals, turned off the lights, and walked away. A lot of it is just sort of preserved, and it's there if you can find it. Old signals, and I pulled out an A5 switch machine cover out of there. Once, just sitting in the woods, had been sitting there for 30 years. So usually when I would come down here, my goal would be to grab I would hear, I know when the trains are coming because the signals were approach lit, and in this case, I was ready for it, and both coming and going I botched it. Did not do a good job. And there's a little down about that. You can see. So in this case, I'd be trying to line up this perfect thing, and the damn tree got in the way. It was foreseeable, but oh well. And then I blurred it on as it passed. Ugh. It's good, decent composition, but nope, fail. Didn't quite get that one done right. And this has always been a problem when I go to Winslow Junction. I can never quite get get good shots in front of the tower. Something always goes wrong. I think 4207, that's one of the GP40 PH-2Bs. That's still working on the line. It's still there. Here we go. Let's see which guy this was. Gotta see what I'm looking at here. I think that's it. Is that it? Let's see. Nope. Here's one of the interior photos. Come on, there it is. That's the one. Yeah. I will mention that this is the 2010 photo that you can see. This is the window that fell off in the late 90s, and they put a special piece of board over it. And this I think this was the 2005. Yeah, they had just boarded the windows over on the inside. That had always been boarded up, but the other ones were not boarded until recently. You can see how new the plywood is. You know, there's this thing where things are somewhat vandalism resistant, but once it becomes a known place you can go and throw rocks and break glass, then you know it happens, and you can't really stop it, and that's a shame. You know, if the windows didn't need to be boarded up for 30 years or 20 years, is you know, it says it's more positive than it is a negative. Here we have what's left of what is currently what is left of Winslow interlocking. It's NJT's South Winds. South Winds, yes, it's the north-south line. Single crossover. It's the end of a passing siding, and instead of just a single switch, it's a full turnout, and you go straight, and that's your SJRR or your SRNJ connection. Right there. Now I'm going to need to go find this. Went a little too far. I'll find it eventually. Here we go. So at least I have a lot of fixtures over the years. It's nothing I need to really go into. I'm just trying to find the name so I can overwrite the file. This was originally redone by Amtrak, so a lot of the signals, so those are Amtrak style signs. These are Amtrak style signals. Looks like it's the 12 switch. That's strange. Maybe I didn't label it properly. Alrighty. Not sure what I was in. I mean, yeah. Again, today when I have way more camera time, I can, you know, like, hey, let's just take one photo of this thing. I think I was trying to get a look of view backwards towards the old Winslow Junction. The original interlocking did come out to about this point. There was one crossover on this side of the bridge over the CNJ. For a while, this was, of course, double-track raceway. Here, things split off, you know, to go to Ocean City. At some point, though, I mean, the interesting thing that it took me for a while to realize what I was seeing in the documents. And what I mean is, you read the history of the railroads of Southern New Jersey, cab signals, passenger-centric service, etc., etc. But by the late 60s into the 70s, in the last 15 years of its existence, it was only running like 3 RDC trains, like 3 to Atlantic City and like 2 to Cape May a day. It was pathetic. And everything south of Winslow was manual block, and it was ABS to Winslow, cab signaled, and the cabs cut out, and you were on manual block. And I think they had some weird thing with some of the cab signals on the manual block. Like, there was, because they couldn't, they could abandon, like, it was odd. You had cab signals like around Atlantic City, and then you went into manual block. And I think that as you approach some things, like the cabs would I don't know. I've been trying to figure out how the cab signals worked. I know an operator who worked at Winslow, and I really need to talk to him more before he gets too old. But you can see the 3 switch is sort of the same function, but not. In the end of the tower, the double track would head to the end underneath the old flyover. And then you were into manual block. And all manual block was a guy in Winslow, and he'd clear the block or not clear the block. It wasn't. I mean, it was kind of interlocked with some of the stuff, but not really. So anyway, sorry to ramble on about there. Oops. Yeah, Winslow became a weird Urban X thing. I've heard about that. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, the video went blank. That's weird. I need to check that for... I need to check that more often. Sometimes it happens. Yeah, I heard that it became like a weird Urban X location. I'd done an article about it. I did a couple articles before it got big in that way. I don't think my articles led to it, but I got a ton of hits because people are like, oh, I saw this on the Urban X thing. I saw this on the Urban X thing. I'm like, I don't know what Urban X people would really be interested in at Winslow Junction. Like, pneumatic airlines running through the woods to go to the old interlocking locations. Like, they don't care about that at all. Like, that's not their thing. Almost anything there that was really, really cool got demolished years ago. And fortunately, I salvaged a number of. I mean, they weren't big, but like railroad insulators, that kind of stuff. I pulled out. I was able to pull out of there. But if they knew there's maybe I'll try to find the Urban X stuff. See if they got into the tower to see the state of the interlocking machine. That blew my mind when I first saw it. I hadn't ever been near an old like Model 14, and I got in there. I'm like, what the hell is this thing? I didn't even know how they worked. Back in the 90s, you just didn't have there weren't resources about that sort of thing. Come on, just give me the photo. This is it. Yeah, you can see that some of the photos are bigger than others. This was just before. So again, the reason I'm redoing all of these was because I was still keep it small. Storage is expensive. You only have my web space for some of the websites I had access to. They're all university type stuff, but they only had like 20 megabytes, so I had to keep the size of the stuff really low. And I was just getting used to the fact that and people would complain if you made stuff that, literally, if you made something that was unfriendly to dial-up, people would bitch at you on forums. It's like, it took me 20 minutes to load your thing, blah, 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 blah. So I tried to keep the size to accommodate that, and it was only around 2016, 2006 is where the dial-up people shut up and went away. So I have to keep going through all of these. There it is. I just try to preserve the old file names if I can, just because I don't want multiple things. But there we go. Yeah, those plywoods are brand new, and for a couple years those windows had just been, but for years those windows were intact, and then they got broken, and now they're like completely broken. But no, that's a shame. I think that was a thermometer. I got to talk to the guy I know. He was the president of their local NRHS chapter for years, and I need to talk to him a little bit more just about, because he worked there. He worked at Tuckahoe. And it was like a kid. It was like his like your it was this like entry-level job. So a little bit of a change here. Usually I filter out what I call like the irrelevant crap for you guys. You're not here to see irrelevant stuff, but this is just a fun bridge. I was in Philadelphia and I saw a rat in a fountain trying to get out. It was just the most adorable thing. Because I was like, what the hell is that? And it was a rat in a fountain, and then it like couldn't get out. And you'll see the sequence here. So yeah, there we go. See, it was on that little center stand thing there, and it took off trying to swim across the fountain. Oops! But what it didn't quite realize was that there was an overhang. And then I couldn't get out. Oh no, I did get out. That's right. Oops, I caught some people in here by mistake. Uh-oh. Now I remember what the problem was. I got all this stuff in DC that I'm going to have major problems trying to source. Yeah, this is wild. See, this is all if I had a smartphone, man. Oh man, that would have been great, because it would have been like that's viral video territory right there. But back in 2005, all you had was just taking a sequence of stills. It's kind of desperate for content. There he goes. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, wow. He made it. That was great. There he goes. Don't make fun of rats, man. They know their stuff. I think it's got one more. Yep, off he goes. There you go. Yay. So I think I owe someone a quick a thing of SRNJ. Anyway, the guy died, and a lot of those M420s got scrapped. I think some of them are still there. Even the scrapping went wrong. Like, they pulled a bunch of trucks off and wrote "Do not scrap" on these, like the SRNJ, because they needed extra trucks. The motor, and the scrap guy scrapped them anyway. Like, dumbass. I guess part 2 on this little trip here was I'd heard something. I caught wind that something was getting re-signaled in the D.C. area on the old the Baltimore the B&O sort of bypass route, Alexandria branch, and I was going to try to get down there and get some pictures, or just at least identify if anything had been actually resignaled. And so that's one of the things when you have Google. One of the great advantages, given enough lag time, when you have the Google whatever, you can just go and satellite view and be like, oh, yep, that got resignaled. Oh well. Come on. There were two interlockings down there. It was Deanwood and Chesapeake Junction. See if the video's working still. Oh, okay. So going back to the Urban X, I guess the SRNJ. I don't know. I mean, it's still active. I don't know why. It wasn't that interesting. It was just any short line. I mean, most short lines, half the revenue is from traffic, and half the revenue is from storing stuff, storing old freight cars, storing whatever, and that's how they make their money, just storing. I gotta find what the name of this interlocking is. It is Deanwood. There it is. Okay. So when I saw this, I'm like, bummer, because these were like, this is one of those like delayed reactions from the Conrail merger. I mean, I guess that after Conrail got kicked off the NEC, there wasn't really much going on with it, but the Alexandria branch got a lot busier after because that was the route. Freight would come from New York City through Baltimore, on the at JD Tower, onto the Alexandria branch, down to the Potomac Yard, and there you go. And for the longest time, the main route was PRR, NEC, PRR, Landover Line, Pot Yard, Florida. And then freight traffic shifted and turned into this little bohunky thing, and they had this little single siding on the Alexandria branch. Man, they've really bulked it up since then now, a lot. But they were playing catch up here. There we go. See, can't use one side, use another sign, use another. Huh. I was calling it Chesapeake Junction. Chesapeake Junction's another mess. So I mislabeled these photos even back in the day. I'll have to rectify that. Oh, here we go. I'm not sure if I had noticed it when I started, but when I step back a bit, you can see the that there's a medium approach pulled up. Yep. not sure I noticed that at the time, but I noticed it now. Another thing I was desperately trying to do, and this was where I was hindered by, I got to go redo it because at the time I was hindered by the my lack of zoom on my camera. Now I'm just hindered by the terrible headways on the Metro. But I was trying to get pictures of the PRR block signals on the Landover line. It had been partly resignaled. I thought it had been totally resignaled, but I was wrong. But I don't know what the signal numbers are at all. Well, let's see if I have the interlocking charts. I have Landover interlocking. Or do I? No, I don't. Oh, see, there's another problem. Oh, boy. There we go. So, okay, so I don't know what I'm going to do here. Oh, God. I can probably guess. I think I have Landover line timetables somewhere. Actually, I know what I have. I do have a resource I can use. I had it up too. I have to go on a little hunt here. Didn't think I knew I was going to need that. I gotta get moving on here. I'm taking a little too much time. But I'm going to pull up my Conrail Philly Division interlocking charts from 1997. Might be able to shed some light on this subject. Even as late as 1997 is well past the PRR year. There's not a lot of freight coming off the NEC, but the whole thing was configured for maybe some CSX freight will come by, but it has to. It was not set up for efficient on and off there. It's got to find Alexandria. Anacostia, I mean. Sheet 40. Come on. $27, $42. Yeah, you says you still had like. Oh, come on. Here we go. I think the mileage is actually carried over. Yeah, it is. See, 1 milepost 132. So I know those were resignaled because they were approaching Anacostia, which was generally a slow speed interlocking. They're not telling us. This is where they had the tower, the very classic tower that was demolished fairly, not until not very long ago. But so if those are signals 132, I'm going to say that they're probably 2 mile blocks, so those would be 130. So crop, sharpen. Do I even sharpen? Yeah, I don't even need to resize. I'll just sharpen once and. not a lot I can do. See, half the time it's, the photo's the easy part, but it's, this is starting to die again. Need to not run the streaming thing. Oh, this die. Oh crap! There it goes. Yeah, sorry about the screens dying from time to time. I'm having some high CPU usage because I need to not run that in my browser alternative. Anyway, I'm almost done. I think we're still at Deanwood, and see, now I'm into the whole, like, what kind of Metro car is this? Now, this is not a 1K series. It's a something else. Why? Why did transit agencies or even commuter railroads not put the numbers on the front of the train? Don't you have people that need to get that information easily? Like, why? Oh, Metro does that, too. NJT puts the numbers huge on the top, huge on the front, huge on the side. No problem. Metro North doesn't put them on the front. Long Island Railroad does, but it's small font. Like, come on. Now, this is a 1K car, and I know that. I probably could see the number if I needed to. No, I can't. But at some point, this is before the 2008 crash, of course, they slapped this sticker on all the 1K cars indicating that they were original. It's like an anniversary sticker. And they put it on all the original, 300, 400 1K cars made by Rohr in Georgia. I have a friend in Georgia, and I was actually down there, and we drove past. I didn't realize it at the time, or I got in a photo. I actually drove past the Rohr assembly plant. It's near Athens, where they would have made these, which was neat. It's interesting how rail cars have followed the trend in all manufacturing. It's like they first, it fled to the south, and then it just went overseas. So here we have what I believe are the 130 signals. If I can see them. Nope, not enough resolution. I'm going to fold this into the signal thing. I don't really care about random sections of Metro rail track. All right, we're almost done the last one. Let's see if people are still watching. Yeah, BART does it too. NJT does it, BART does it. Just some railroads feel like, hey, it's important to know the numbers of the trains. And some railroads are like, I don't care. Who knows what they are? I just don't get it. Maybe they think that it'll be too easy for random members of the public to call them on their what do you call that? On-time performance stats or something by actually tracking the train. Oh, we got some fun pictures here. There's some good stuff to say. This is cute. We got a little some sort of Swift going on there, living in the camera doodad. No, it's so cute. Wait, it was just a robin. I don't know. Here we have the signal from the other side. Again, can I see what it is? Yeah, it looks like 130. I should get back there. I don't know. So Amtrak is doing some resignaling at Landover, and that might be a reason that they get rid of this 251 operation. The line is actually cab signaled from the PRR days. One of the last places you get, you know, all amber PL, especially on CSX. I mean, it's a CSX line. They just don't care about it, really. But we'll have to see. I just got to check my resize. I think one of the rad photos I actually expanded past the point of, you know, the resolution. That was dumb. So, surprise, surprise, Amtrak is replacing Landover interlocking. Part of the reason is there's no way to get, so at down there it's Amtrak going Atlantic to Pacific, tracks 1, 2, 3. So into DC, it's track 2, 3. And there's no way to get to track 1 from track 2 northbound at Landover. There's a crossover between tracks 2 and 3. But there is nothing... there's no way to get to track 1. It's electrified, but nothing can use it. So it's CSX freight trains will come off the Landover line, and they basically, you can get from the Landover line to track 2, but you can't get from track 2 onto the Landover line. It's this weird sort of, it's just unbalanced. And I should have some pictures here. Let's see. So there's a tower and one of the switches. Again, yeah, see, look at how rusty it is. No one uses it. It's pointless. Actually, I think even though the Landover line is 256, I always see a parked freight train on one of them. I think they're just using it signaled in one direction and Form D the other. They just, you know, can't be bothered. But like, what's going to use that? What's going to go? What freight train's going to go off track 2 and then into non-electric territory? And you see the 2-track Landover line goes to one useless switch, and then you have an electrified track 1 there that's inaccessible. I think you could maybe make a backup move if, like, an emergency. It would be a disaster. Yeah. See, nothing's really on that. Because you always see the freight trains going near Landover. I got a lot of stuff at Landover. That's pretty cool. Good coverage. Anyway. But surprisingly, nothing of that thing there. Okay, anyway. What they're doing is they're replacing it with a new interlocking called Hanson. That will be not only allow access to track 1 before Carroll. So the part of the issue is that Amtrak trains are going to use the tracks 2, 3 to New Carrollton with a single island platform. So even if a train is not stopping, you know, there's a bunch of trains that wouldn't stop at New Carrollton. I think they also want to expand the platform, but like you can't like switch something over to 1 to bypass, so it can bypass the whole. It can run through its, you know, they can run through its speed, but you just can't you know, if there's a train stopped at New Carrollton, you can't run something on track 1 around it to get ahead of it. Which I think certain MARC trains don't stop at New Carrollton, depending on their service schedule. So. See what I called this back in the day. There it is. Man, I did a hatchet job on that guy. That picture. If I still have any people left. No, it wasn't well. I mean, it was designed for what the NEC improvement project, island platform at New Carrollton, and then there was a gauntlet track at New Carrollton, and a lot of freight was anticipated to use tracks 1 and 2. But, you know, this was before the Chase. New Carrollton went in before the Chase accident. And as soon as that happened, freight just left the NEC. Gone. And the only thing that uses that Landover connection now is some local freights and the CSX Pope's Creek coal trains. So you don't need the gauntlet track was removed ages ago. You just didn't need it. This is cool. We got one of the Mark GP39H-2s, which I believe are still in service with Mark, and the ostensibly more modern-looking GP40WHs. But those got the axe to be rebuilt into Sunrail MP32s, which is kind of cool. Just shows you how well EMDs can be rebuilt. On the home stretch. Yeah, these are all rebuilt. Even the H-2s, despite looking less advanced, were newer. So that's why they kept them. They were rebuilt sometime in the early 90s by MPI. Oops. Wait. Just need to change some of the names real quick. Yeah, these were rebuilt with components from some sort of SD45. That's where they got the flared radiators from. I think part of that had to do with the head-end power assembly. Also note the Mark GP40WHs were built with Mars lights. It wasn't just Metra that uses those. Mark had them, and that's why they don't need ditch lights. You can either have a Mars light or a ditch light, and Mark went with the Mars lights. Coming down to it. Up. Here we go. I got more. Yeah, this is stuff. This would from me. Oh, look. The gauntlet track's still there. Yes, this was removed shortly thereafter. When I say gauntlet track, and look, it's even like it's used. You know, that's basically the extra thing that allows a freight train to avoid clipping the high-level platform. It's by moving it over by about 6 inches. That's why there's that phantom signal at on track 2 at New Carrollton. You have like an absolute signal before the platform, and then the rest of Carolina locking is after the platform. And that first signal there on track 2 was to enable the gauntlet track. so that you know, trains hitting that would get medium clear or an approach medium. So there you go. The gauntlet track, as you can see, the double rail there is still there in 2005. Here's another fun thing. Amtrak was still doing the express freight, and there was an express track facility somewhere off the NEC north of New Carrollton, and we had some you know, they were getting towed in for wherever they were going to go that day. Some of those express track cars are still out there. Actually, you see them occasionally. 704032. 74032 is the number on that one. Let's see if I already named it. Nah. See, a lot of stuff. See, this is where the things that aren't there anymore drinking game will bite you in the butt. So drink responsibly. This is Gwen Tower. Gwen Tower is still there, but the bay window got hacked off or burned down or fell off. Now I can see why it's entirely made of wood. There's a little concrete platform, but I think, again, the roof was gone 10, 13 years ago, and I popped by recently, and like the whole thing had popped off. I gotta Urban X this at some point. I'm sure it's part of the local repertoire, but I'm pretty sure you can, now that you can see, now since the bay window fell off, you can see inside, and the interlocking machine is still there. So that that might be a thing that needs to get some pictures. There it is. Yeah, I overprocessed that too. I don't know why I would do that. I was sort of afraid of the haze. I'd try to get rid of the haze. Yeah, and that desaturates it, and I would forget to resaturate it. Should I do that? See, that's a little bit better way to do that. Well, good thing I have this picture, because you can compare it to like how it looks today, which is awful. Okay, that looks like it. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Video of what? Can I even type anymore? Where's my browser totally hosed? Uh-oh. Did it die again? I need to stop running this thing in the whatchamacallit window. Anyway, hopefully you're still there. I'm having some technical problems here. So I'm going to, there it goes, back. I'm not even sure what the hell I was seeing or what you guys were seeing. Oh, sorry. So yeah, next time I'll make sure that I'm running the Adobe Station in Chrome. What happens when I was running it in WaterFox? It just trashes my CPU and the thing dies. Anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I will definitely be working on it tomorrow. This was a singleton. I'm not sure what I'm doing for the next of the parts of the week, but I will figure it out. Thanks for at least listening for the audio version of this. I can go in and see what I got. I have 2 slots. I'm going to do a Christmas morning one, and I mean a Christmas night one, and then Wednesday to Thursday I'm going to do one. So I'll see. I could do more singletons. Shoreline Trolley would be a double. That would be fun. I'll probably pick it tomorrow. Yeah, go away. My R5 trip to Lansdale. That might be a fun one. That definitely deserves it. Or SMS to Bristol. Yeah, lots of fun stuff there. All right, to be determined what's happening tomorrow. I'm really looking at that R5 Lansdale. Let's see. How interesting is it? I could work on it. I'll figure something out. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great Christmas, everybody. The Shoreline, let's see. What do I have on the Shoreline one? The Shoreline would be mostly a lot of trolleys. Wouldn't have a lot to say about it. It's like, here's a trolley car. Here's a trolley car. Here's a trolley car. Oh, sorry, I'm mistaking Shoreline for Seashore. Still, here's a trolley car. Here's a trolley car. Here's a trolley car. I'll check it out. One of those two. It'll be a 2-day event. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. See ya. I got to get to the thing.